Well, trying to find a quote that is most appropriate for arguably the best captain in the history of the Grand Rapids Griffins, and certainly one of the very best captains in sports, period. Jeff Hoggan, I mentioned to you, I was looking up quotes. I was trying to find one that really did, attach itself to you. And the one I found I thought that was best was Derek Jeter said, "There may be more people that have more talent than you, but there's no excuse for anyone to work harder than you do." I think that sums up Jeff Hoggan. Good to see you, Captain. And what do you think? I mean, that pretty much sums up Jeff Hoggan, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the things that kept me around the game. If people probably describe me as a player, that's probably one of the first traits that comes about is hard work and, maybe exceeding, expectations. People joke if you're doing skill drills now with the kids, like you didn't have any skills, you just worked, right? So, but at the end of the day, I mean, hard work is what I'm teaching these Yahoo kids that I'm dealing with now, my own kids here. But, hard work, skill, and probably one of the most important skills if you want to play this game a long time.
Well, one of the last time Grand Rapids saw that cute little face that was just popping into the screen was when he was just a wee little baby. Quinn, that's the youngest of the three Hoggan boys. How is the family?
Quinn, the family's doing great. I mean, we got obviously a little bit of quarantine, going on, but yeah, there's never a dull moment for sure. They're doing some baseball, and we're I don't know how it is there in Michigan, but we're obviously getting going now with the rink and skating. Siobhan's going left, I'm going right, and we're making a lot of noise doing it. So yeah,
those Hoggan boys have some energy, and the best is yet to come with those guys. All three playing hockey too, right?
Yeah, they're all doing some hockey. Hunter and Cam have been fortunate to be on the same teams here over the years, and obviously it started there with Fox Motors there with Canubo.
Starting baseball.
So, yeah, they're doing
Don't
great.
forget the time I'm playing baseball.
Well,
I know, but
Jeff, obviously 7 years ago, June 18th, the 2013 Calder Cup title, the first for a Grand Rapids professional hockey team. And we think about it, I mean, even you said it just blows your mind that it was that long ago. So let's reminisce and talk about that. I think the one thing, really the overarching theme that came out of that entire playoff run to me was most of your teammates all said the same thing, and I want to get your reaction to it. We don't win that championship. We don't win that 2013 Calder Cup without our captain, Jeff Hoggan.
I mean, everybody says the right thing, but I mean, there were so many pieces to that championship, and you don't win championships with this guy, that guy. There's so many things that came together, and as we talked about it the whole time, it was never, as a leadership role, was never one guy that whole run. I mean, you'll never forget that bond that you had with the guys, but the coaching staff, it just was contagious. We started believing in each other, each other's character, get to know each other, because even talking today with someone, it was not the greatest start to that season, right? So it didn't happen. Didn't know it was going to happen or finish like that. So it's something that stays with you, and it was a nice takeaway of how it all came together.
Well, it was a battle throughout, and then that's where a captain really comes in when you're going the full 5 games in the first round and 6 and 7 games in every round afterwards. Everybody's got to be pulling on the rope, and the captain is along with the coaching staff. It can get challenging, and I remember that first round against Houston. You were down. And I remember you talked to a lot of the guys, and the message was, guys, we've come this far. We finished off strong. No reason we can't take this thing all the way to June. And ultimately you did.
Yeah, I mean, Houston definitely had a solid team. And, obviously the weather's nice in Houston. So, you're sitting at that hotel and, you see a couple of your guys maybe hanging out at the pool, maybe a little too long before the season was over. It's not a bad idea to get outside and stretch your legs in between games there. But, it was kind of like, how serious are you going to be about this? You got plenty of time for the pool, but these days, these run out, these opportunities run out. And, I remember obviously Evie talking about, he played a long time pro and he hadn't been in that position to win a championship. And, we definitely had a little powwow about that. And, one of those moments obviously early on where, we started to kind of get rolling.
Well, there's just we could go on for probably 3 hours at least talking about all the, the events of those playoffs and even leading up to. But, the things that stand out in my mind, and I know for you too, the Oklahoma City series, speaking of weather, not so good in Oklahoma City. Of course, the tornado delays game 4 there, but it also gave us the chance to get Gustav Nyquist and Joachim Andersen back from the Red Wings, who right during that time got knocked out by the Chicago Blackhawks in the 7th and decisive game. And that was a big turning point for your team, I thought, in the conference finals against Oak City.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of those series, it got to the point where people had almost written us off. It wasn't going to happen. I mean, we get these breaks, and it could have been, one of those moments where, obviously a tornado and delayed game, and you're feeling like you're ready for a hockey game, and then you're canceling it. God, it was funny watching those Europeans and watching the news network, and obviously they don't deal with a lot of tornadoes over there, and you almost got your mind off of hockey, in a positive way, because it's eat, sleep, and breathe hockey, and there's so much pressure in the playoffs when you're in that elimination type series. It was a nice reset and got time to Gus and Andy to acclimate with us and get back in the mix and skate before the game. And God, that power play the next night, I think they zipped it around the first power play we got. It was all 5 guys touch it, and it was in the back of the net. We're like, oh, okay, this is great. So, one of those moments for sure that you don't forget.
I remember that. Yeah, I mean that feeling of watching those guys, like you say, to move that puck around and just click on that power play to jump out in front in Game 4. You're down 2-1 in that series. Eventually, go on against Todd Nelson's Oklahoma City Barons, and then it's off to Syracuse, Hoagie, and you look back at that series, and you go into Syracuse, win the first 2, you go up 3-0, and you got 2 chances at home to win it. What are you thinking after Game 5 when Syracuse comes back, wins games 4 and 5 in your raucous building, and send the thing back to Syracuse?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was it became kind of like a mental warfare. I remember sitting there in the locker room, and obviously a lot more reporters are coming in, and a lot from out east come in, and they're almost saying like you blew it. You didn't win at home, and trying to play that angle to self-defeat yourself and the guys. But I think that whole run is the inner belief in ourselves just kind of kept growing, and underestimate somebody that long. And I think obviously that community and Grand Rapids being starved for the playoff run and the playoff hockey like that, it was it didn't even sink in with any of us. We were going out there. I think we flew the second time, right? So or do we fly? It's kind of a blur. I know we busted. Yeah, we did fly. So obviously saved some energy there and got in and polished it off at Syracuse.
Well, and that confidence was so evident. That morning of Game 6, you kind of get over that loss of Game 5 and missing out on a chance to hoist the cup inside the Van Andel. It was crushing, but we get on the plane, go to Syracuse, and that morning of Game 6, the morning skate, I remember being around that locker room, and within 5 minutes, because of Peter Mrazek and yourself and others, the confidence in that room, you knew almost for sure, we're going to win this thing tonight. We're going to win it right here tonight, bounce back, claim the cup in Game 6, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was thank God it was Game 6, right? But obviously with Evie with that goal, and it was pretty unique. It almost you think of like the movie, and it's people that are in that circle of the old slap shot in the old rinks and the smell, and it kind of took upon that made for movie, made for TV type finish. And, it's something that I love sitting around with the guys when you get the chance. Obviously you don't, but in college, I'm around all those guys and just breaking out the stories. It's one of those things that, obviously we had to go out in Syracuse to do it, but at the same time, that plane ride back with just the guys was one of those things that you'll never forget. So I still got some nice pictures of it too.
Yeah, weren't too many people sitting on that plane. So don't tell the FAA. I think it probably shouldn't disclose that, but you won 2 cups, Hoagie. And obviously both are going to be special in their own way. Captured one with Houston. What's your biggest takeaway from the championship in Grand Rapids? What's the one thing that just resonates with you about that season and that title?
Man, I just think about the guy. I mean, I'm a fan of hockey still. I try to keep up, but I just see, maybe how it defined a lot of those guys moving forward. I think they took that confidence, that winner's mindset, and they always talk about people want winners, and I think that helped a lot of those guys see it. Just it's not just about the contract and their stats and stuff. It's you could certainly be a part of the great teams like that, and people don't forget that. I can't remember who scored how many goals or what amount of goals, but I know who was on that team because it won, right? And, I think back to some of those guys in Houston my first year, and I couldn't even tell you. I mean, I know Nat Domicelli was there, John Guy Trudell were scorers, but throughout that playoff run, I couldn't tell you who led in stats. It was just that we needed to win, and everybody came together to get it done.
The whole thing, the whole season, from the very beginning to the very end, including the celebration at Van Andel Arena a day or two after we won it in Syracuse. Your speech was one of the most entertaining as you introduced all your teammates. You played all 100 games in that season too, Hoagie. What an accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, that speech was almost the end of me, though, kind of after the 100 game. I remember, obviously, there's some pictures, and I just look at myself and just worn out. The beard, the hair was all over the place. And then, asked to introduce the guys. And, public speaking is never, anybody's joy, but it just, I just felt like I had to, get through the all-nighter and, kind of, smack myself a little bit more sober than I needed to be after, a flight like that. But, I always take pride in words, saying the right words at the right time. And, people kind of make fun how I ramble on sometimes if I get an email going. But, I made sure, obviously to include every guy and try and capture their, a snippet of their part of the long run. And, I'm glad you guys actually copied that on video too. So, my kids will fire it up sometimes, and, really, really something I really take away from it is them getting to see their dad play hockey, but also speak. And, it's pretty entertaining to see these days.
It was great stuff. It was a magical season, no doubt. And, really, you think about the personalities, led by Jeff Hoggan. We just cherish it right to this very day as though it was last week. Hoagie, thanks a ton. It's awesome seeing you. Best to all of your family.
Thanks, guys. You too, my man. Always great talking to you. And I wish we could talk more and see each other more. And Grand Rapids as a place in my heart always will. And, really close to almost just setting up camp and there again, I can't believe it's been 7 years. I mean, Quinn was born in Grand Rapids, and I joked when the Hall of Fame speech here in Omaha was, I have a Texan, I have a Michigander, and I have a Nebraskan for kids. But it's pretty. I'm grateful for every one of them. Anytime I discuss anything with people about Grand Rapids, it's nothing but gratitude, appreciation for those times. So. Thanks for reaching out to me, Kays.
Yeah, of course, and congrats on the Omaha Hall of Fame. Some people may not think a whole lot of that, but you're joining the likes of Gordie Howe, who the first time you ever met him, you just called him Gordie.
Yeah, hey Gord, I said as he walked around the room, was retiring their jersey down there in Houston when he played with his sons for the Houston Whalers, wasn't it? And I knew he was coming, but Todd McClellan Saby rushed over and Mr. Howe, hey, how you doing? Sorry. I kind of just, gave myself a little wake-up call. Hey, you got a lot to learn, kid. And, you know, certainly getting the opportunity, God, what was at the end of my career was about 10 years later, if not more. 2015, probably 12 years later, where he came into Joe Louis. And, you know, I don't think it was planned. I think, you know, even Mark mentioned he just wanted to go down to the Joe that night where I was just I never played that 2-touch soccer. But he comes around the corner and I was like, popped right to my feet. I think I was doing some yoga, some stretching, and, you know, just obviously trying to stay limber at that point. At 30, got 6. Yeah, jump right up and say, Mr. Howe, it's a pleasure, you know. And, you know, obviously that's something I'll never forget too. Just little moments like that where, you know, small town kid from Canada, and you get to cross paths with these guys that you marvel at.
Right, I hope BC. Hoagie, thanks again.
Yeah, you bet, kid. It's good talking to you, buddy.
You too, pal.